Do you have enough saved in your 401k? We all worry about it. And if you're not worried about it, you're either so good at saving that you don't need to watch this video, are a trust fund baby, or should start to worry about it. Today, I'm going to show you an easy method to figure out how much you should have saved in your 401k by the time you're 35, or really at any age at all. I'm Melissa Ford. Welcome to Damsel of Success, where we talk about all things money. Be sure to subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified when I share a new video every single Wednesday. So I'm one of those weirdos who's sort of obsessed with personal finance, and making sure you're on track to retire when you want to retire is a big part of that. Probably the biggest. So let me share my tips about how to figure out whether you're headed to a sweet retirement on a tropical beach somewhere, or a cardboard box in the alley behind your ex's house. I don't know why you set up your box there. That's on you. Just remember that however our analysis turns out today, there are steps you can take right away to make it better. And I can help you with that. So let's get right into it. The first step is to figure out how much you're actually going to need when you retire. And there are lots of methods to figure that out. Let's cover 4 of them. By the way, if you're not a big math person, I totally get you and I've got you covered. There's a link below to my website where you can download a free spreadsheet that will do all the math for you. First up is the 80% rule. This rule says you should save as much as you would need to have the equivalent of 80% of your salary for about 20 years. So if you make $50,000 per year, you would take 80% of that, which is $40,000, and multiply it by 20. That would give you a final number of $800,000. The pros of this rule are that it's really simple and considered to be on the financially conservative side, which, when it comes to retirement, I am a strong advocate for. I like to say plan for the worst and hope for the best. But there are a couple of cons with this method that make me favor other methods over it, at least for me. First, it gives you a great final balance to work with, but it doesn't really let you know where you stand today. Because of the power of compounding interest, your portfolio should grow exponentially over time, not linearly. I'm going to put a slide in here just in case my wild hand motions didn't quite make sense to you.
Compound growth is small at first, but it rises at a much faster pace as time moves on.
With linear growth, growth happens at a steady, consistent pace. So if you were to take that number from the 80% rule and say divide it in half, it wouldn't give you an accurate picture of where you should be at the halfway mark in your savings plan. Second, this rule assumes that you're going to retire at the legal retirement age in the United States. By the way, the current age when you're eligible to receive full Social Security benefits in the US is 67 for anyone born after 1960 and 66 and 2 months for anyone born before 1960. As a side note, none of our calculations today are going to include Social Security benefits or any equivalents to that outside of the United States. There are lots of debates about whether or not Social Security will be around when we retire, and people who are a lot smarter than me have wildly differing opinions about it, so I just don't feel qualified to ring in. But like I said, my philosophy is to plan for the worst and hope for the best. So if I get Social Security, hooray, extra money. But if not, I'm not in a pickle. Another reason Social Security isn't included here is that you might want to retire well before Social Security is available to you. I know I do. I'm working really hard to retire in the next 7 to 10 years, and that means I'll have somewhere around 15 to 20 years before I'm eligible to receive those benefits. So I can't count on them in my portfolio, at least not yet. And if you want to retire early, neither can you. That means for me, the 80% rule isn't very useful. So let's take a look at the next method.
The 10x rule.
I like this one with a couple of adjustments, even though it doesn't quite work for me personally. And it may or may not for you either, but we'll get into that later.
The 10x rule says that by age 30, you should have saved 1 times your annual income.
and then increase that multiple about every 5 years with a couple of larger jumps in between. So if you're earning $50,000 by age 30, you should have $50,000 banked for retirement. By age 40, you should have 3 times your annual salary. By age 50, 5 times your salary. By age 60, 8 times. And by age 67, 10 times. If you reach 67 years old and are earning $50,000 per year, you should have $500,000 saved. If you're just looking for a quick benchmark, it's probably fine. Probably. But did you notice that the amount is way lower than the 80% rule gave us? In fact, it's nearly half of what the 80% rule recommends. And that makes me nervous. To me, it's just too low. With factors like the rising cost of healthcare, especially with more healthcare needs as we grow older, it just doesn't seem like enough to me. The other thing that's throwing me off with this method is that it doesn't really make it clear how to account for your salary growing over time. You'll likely be making more at 50 than you will at 30. So to rely on your 30-year-old self's salary means you're kind of locking yourself into a lifestyle that may or may not be realistic by the time you retire. Obviously, one way to fix that is to base your salary number off of what you want it to be when you retire instead of what you're making today. But all up, it just gets a little confusing, so I don't think it's a reliable method for anything more than just a quick baseline to see if you're sort of on the low end of the ballpark. Another obvious drawback to this method is that, like the 80% method, it also assumes that you're retiring at 67, which might not be right for you. When are you hoping to retire? Leave me a comment below and let me know. The next rule we'll talk about fixes that issue in the previous 2 methods, adjusting your retirement age. And it's what most people who are pursuing financial independence like me are using as well. You might have heard of this in relation to the FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. I'm definitely on the FIRE path, and I will be talking more about that on my channel, so stay tuned. The rule I'm talking about is the 25X rule, also sometimes referred to as the 4% rule, though that title is a little bit misleading.
The 25X rule asks you to multiply your annual expenses, not your salary, your expenses, by 25 to calculate how much you'll need to withdraw 4% of your portfolio every year for the rest of your life. Now, that rest of your life has a big asterisk next to it, and that's because, while I have done enough research to make me comfortable saying that I think that there's a good strong chance that it will last for the rest of your life, there are some experts that disagree with that conclusion. And so if you go with this as a method, you need to look into it a little bit deeper to make sure that you're comfortable with how long your retirement balance is going to last you.
For instance, if your goal is to withdraw $50,000 annually at retirement, you would need $1.25 million in your portfolio. I should note that there's been some debate lately about whether the 25X rule should be changed to the 33X rule to account for a smaller 3% withdrawal rate, which some people think is a safer bet. So if you're more financially conservative and planning to retire early, you may want to calculate things that way instead. So we've now looked at 3 different methods and gotten wildly different results. The 80% method says someone making $50,000 needs $800,000 to retire.
The 10X method says you only need $500,000.
And the 25X method claims it's more like 1.25 million. Why is that? And how do you know what the hell your number should be? It can be so frustrating, but I promise there is a simple solution. And that brings us to our 4th and final method to figure out how much you should have saved in your retirement by your age. And that is using a retirement calculator. See, there are just too many factors to create a one-size-fits-all method. Your needs and goals are probably very different from mine, and you need a tool that lets you make adjustments based on that. That's where a retirement calculator comes in. A good retirement calculator will let you play with variables like what age you want to retire at, how much you want to live on in retirement, what you earn, how much you're saving, and what you already have saved so far. And then it spits out an answer that's unique to you and only you. So let's take a look at one to see how they work. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a retirement calculator that you can download for free on my website at the link in the description below. And that's the one I'll be demonstrating on today. But a Google search will turn up some great options too. As you play around with this, you're going to see that your savings rate is one of the biggest factors under your control to help you grow your retirement savings. And we're going to talk a lot about that in future videos, how to up that savings rate. So let's open the calculator and dive right in.
Okay, so first things first, you're going to go to the website that I have linked in the description below, and it will take you to this page here, and you're going to enter your information. I will put the Damsel for mine. And then it'll take you to this confirmation page. And don't forget to read this part that says, then check your email for a special bonus, because I absolutely do send you a special bonus in your email, so be sure not to miss that. But all you have to do is hit this download now button, and it should download into your browser, however that looks. In mine, it just downloads right here. So once you have it downloaded, you'll open it up and it'll look like this. I'm not going to go into too much depth about how to use this for two reasons. Number one is that I already have a video that gives you instructions about what to put into these cells and how to figure that out. And you can find that in the description below. I'll link to it in the description. And number two is that if you don't want to watch a video to figure this out, I've also put in instructions. So if you hover over a cell, it'll show you exactly what you're supposed to be putting into the adjacent cell in a little pop-out box here. But the thing I want you to take away from this is that by using a retirement calculator, it's gonna allow you to customize it for your needs, which is the whole point, because your needs are going to be different than somebody else's. So giving you a blanket number that says, hey, you're on the right track for retirement, there's just not a way to do that without getting really specific about what your retirement goals are. And this will help you define that. So once you go through this process of putting your information in, what you're going to see down here is an outlay of how long that retirement is going to last for you. And more importantly, it's going to show you exactly where you should be at any age at all. So for instance, if I go over here to 46 years old, all I have to do is hover over this column to tell me that I need $348,961.33 to be completely on track to retire at the age that I want to retire at. And it'll show you in terms of what your goal should be to meet your goals and what your current savings rate is. Now, the way the numbers have worked out in the current scenario that's in the template right now, the results are really similar, but you might find that the results are very different. And then lastly, what I want to show you is that like I said, if you don't want to do the math on all of the other methods that we discussed today, all you have to do is look at this little table over here, and it'll show you exactly how much you would need based on the other rules that we talked about. So the 80% rule, it'll show you how much you'd need to retire today and how much you would need to retire at the age that you list in this spreadsheet over here. And that's all there is to it.
Hopefully that gives you a good overview of how to use a retirement calculator and figure out how much you should have saved by 35 or whatever age you are right now. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out in the comments below. I'm happy to help. And if you've come to this point and found out that you're not on track, that's completely okay. Don't get discouraged. You just took a major step toward meeting your retirement goals by giving yourself a little reality check. We'll be talking about how to supercharge your retirement savings in a future video for sure. But for now, if you want to learn more about how you can get better with your money this year, watch my video on that very topic, which I will link in the description below. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. I am brand new here, and your likes tell YouTube to show my videos to more people. It really does make a difference, so thanks in advance for helping me out. And if you loved this video, subscribe. There's so much more to come about how to reach your financial goals. I literally cannot stop talking about it, and I don't want you to miss a thing. So hit that subscribe button and the like button and the bell to be notified when I share a new video every Wednesday. That's all for now. See you soon.